Of you don't know Wellington's lovely wife. I married Wellington. What year did I marry you guys? How long ago did I marry y'all? 15? 2001? And it took? Y'all are still together? Usually every time I sing Memory, I have to burst into a rendition of Memory, not a sound from the pain. Those of you that are just logging on, welcome. Glad that you're here. And very happy to see my parents are here today. So it's a really nice surprise. Look around, see if there's somebody you haven't met, and please say hello to them. Thanks. Huh? I doubt it. I doubt it. Mom likes to sit where she can get to the door in case she needs to.
Mom had the number 2 trip.
Yeah. Yeah, Mom was a huge Prince fan. She went to all the concerts. All right. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Wow, what a beautiful day it is here in the month of May. And we have good things to say today as we go all the way into the day. It's like, Dr. Ralph, you remember back in the charismatic movement when everybody used to prophesy and rhyme? Oh, yes, you see, the Lord thy God will be with thee. I used to always wait for the cadence of what, and I'm not making fun of it. It's just that you got pressured to always prophesy and rhyme. It's too much work. I'm always trying to explain. Ken never knew any of that. Like, we went to this, people at home, we'll be with you in a minute. But we went to this show the other night. It's the Born for This, the story of BB and CeCe Winans. Most of BB Winans, but there's 2 characters that play Jim and Tammy Baker in it, and I'm trying to, because Ken never saw PTL or TBN or anything, so he has no point of reference. So I'm trying to explain to him who they were. He was telling me last night. He said, "Did you see this thing with Benny Hinn?" And he was throwing his coat up. I said, "Yes, I've seen it." But anyway, especially glad to have my parents here with us today. Mom and Dad, yay! And we're in agreement for just a perfect day. Just going to be beautiful. Let's please remain standing, and we'll get this officially started. Please. Good morning. Welcome to Metron. Buenos dias. Bonjour. Willkommen. Those of you that are logging on through the magic of the world, we welcome you. Always glad. I don't know what was different about last week. Usually we have 200-300 people logged on. Last week it was it's 963. It's close to 1,000, and I don't know why it spiked so much. Yeah. So I don't know what was different about last week, but that's very cool. So whoever you are logging on, we're glad that you're. As long as you're not within driving distance. If you're driving distance, get in the car and come over here now. Come as you are. Just come with your curlers and your coffee cup. It's a dark theater. Nobody will look at you that close. That's one good thing about being in this lighting. We all look really good. Of course, I'm always happy to have the great Marshall Ruffin with us, and there's nobody quite like him, and we're always happy when he and Corey can be with us. We really kind of claim them. We feel like they're sort of part of us, and I'm not telling you what to do with your repertoire, but Grandma's Hands would be this would be really good for today. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to do it, but I'm just saying it would be appropriate if you did. But whatever he does, if he sang Mary Had a Little Lamb, I would like it. If he did it, I'd be like, wow, I never really thought of that song that way. That's the way he interpreted that. That lamb's fleece were white as snow, and I really never thought of it. Without any further ado, would you please welcome Marshall Ruffin?
Please sit down. I already had to apologize to Michelle because I sent her the songs I was going to do, and then I changed it. Once I got here, I had an idea that I hadn't had all week. And it's a song I've never played before, of course. So maybe I'll do Grandma's Hands. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Lady Madonna, children at your feet, wonder how you managed to make ends meet. Who finds the money when you pay the rent? Did you think that money was heaven sent? Friday night arrives without a suitcase. Sunday morning creeping like a nun. Monday child has learned to tie his bootlace. See how they run. Oh, Lady Madonna, baby at your breast, wonders how you manage to feed the red. Oh, Lady Madonna, lying on your bed, listen to the music playing in your head. Sunday afternoon is never ending. Wednesday morning papers didn't come. Thursday night your stockings needed mending. Oh, see how they run. Oh, Lady Madonna, children at your feet, wonder how you manage to make ends meet. Wonder how you manage. Wonder how you manage. Yeah, wonder how you manage to make ends meet. All right, Michelle, do you mind if I do Grandma's hands now? Okay. No, go ahead. And then I'll do the last one last, I guess, or the second one last. Jeez, sorry. Grandma's hands clapped in church on Sunday morning. Grandma's hands played the tambourine so well. Grandma's hands used to issue out a warning. She say, baby, why you run so fast? Might fall on a piece of glass. Might be a snake down there in the grass. Grandma's hands. Grandma's hands soothe the local unwed mothers. Grandma's hands, they used to ache sometimes and swell. Grandma's hands, oh, they lift her face and tell her. She'd say, baby, Grandma understands that you think you really love that man, but you better go and put yourself in Jesus' hands. Grandma's hands. Grandma's hands used to give me a piece of candy. Grandma's hands, they pick me up each time I fell. Grandma's hands, Lord, they sure didn't come in handy. She said, Maddie, why you wanna whip that boy? What you wanna spank him for? I see him drop no apple core, but I don't have grandma anymore. If I get to heaven, well, I'm gonna have to look for grandma's hands. Grandma's hands. Oh, grandma's hands. Yeah, yeah. Okay, Michelle. One more. Oh, Ken, I put a video up of me doing this song, and Ken asked me to do this week. So here you go. Hope that's not like inside baseball or anything. Like. Why should I be discouraged? And why should shadows fall? Why should my heart be lonely, longing for heaven and for His my portion, my constant friend is He. His eye is on that sparrow, and I know that He watches me. Oh, I sing because I'm happy. Oh, I sing because I'm free. His eye is on that sparrow, and I know that He watches me. Let not your heart be troubled. These tender words I hear, and rest in all His goodness. Oh, I lose my doubt and fear. Oh, for the path that He leadeth. But one step I may see. Oh, His eye is on that sparrow, and I know that He watches me. Oh, I sing because I'm happy. Oh, I sing because I'm free. Oh, His eye is on that sparrow, and I know that He watches me. And whenever clouds arise, oh, when songs give way to sighing, and when hope within me dies, I draw ever closer. By faith he set me free, and his eye is on that sparrow. Oh, and I know that he watches me. Oh, I say me, 'cause I'm happy. Oh, I say because I'm free. His eye is on that sparrow, and I know that he watches me. Oh, his eye is on that sparrow, and I know he watches
Yeah, beautiful. Marshall Ruffin. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love it. So awesome. So awesome. Thank you, bud. You may be seated. I love when a true psalmist plays. It does something for you that is inexplicable. Speaking of psalmists, we met Paul Simon this week. It was really cool. We went to this concert, and he was at the Fox. And what I put out into the universe was, in case he does Sound of Silence and needs someone to do Garfunkel's harmony part, I know it. So should he call for a volunteer from the audience, I got you, Paul, because I have visualized myself singing it with him for many, many years. He didn't do it, but it was fine, and we went. I know where the little stage door is there, and so we walked over there. There was just one couple standing out there. By the time he came out, there was like 200 people, and the cop had already put a barrier up. So he didn't take it. I wanted a picture with him, and I got one. It wasn't like a posed picture, but he said he said I can't take any pictures, and understandably so, because once you start, then you've got to sit there and take a selfie with everybody. So, but he came and shook our hands, stood there and talked for a minute, and of course, everybody, when he approached us, were like, I couldn't think of anything to say. Like, you're Paul Simon. But he was really sweet. And I said, and finally I got myself together enough to say it was an amazing show. And he was just, it's interesting because on the stage, he seems very youthful and like him. Then, I mean, he's 74 years old. And when you see him in person, I don't know that you would call it the anointing, but once that's off of him, he's like a little old guy teetering up to you, you know. And but it was a really great experience. And just as Marshall was singing, I was thinking about words like minstrel or troubadour or psalmist. Those are not just entertainers. They're people who sing something and sort of tap you into another dimension. And so anyway, that was awesome. Our outreach this month, of course, is care, and that money's no. That was last month. Our outreach this month, we're reaching out a lot. I forget which month we're in. Our outreach this month is Songs for Kids, and we've already sent that money, and it's great. We're at a place now that when we support a ministry, we can do it at the first of the month, and I just love doing that. And I actually saw Marshall the other night. He was performing with Jonah. They did it was like a fundraiser for it, where they did 500 songs. But these kids are terminal, and most of them are terminal, and it's a way for them to write songs and get to perform. And it's really cool because it's a practical way to deal with people who are in very serious situations without just platitudes, walking in saying, some grandiose thing that may not happen for them. But this is something that's real, and so I love that. Our event for this month will be 2 weeks from today, I think, and that's when we're going to. We're just across the street here at Piedmont Park, we're going to the Jazz Festival, and our own Shonda Crowley is the headliner there. And I think the way it's going to work out, those of you that don't live in the area, just plan on making a day of it and come here, and you can have lunch, and we'll figure out by that day, we'll figure out a meeting point where we can all get together. And I'm sure they'll be doing music all during the day. And so it'll just be a great vibe. You will enjoy it. And so, of course, we'll embarrass Chandra and we know her, stuff like that. I always do that. So that's cool. Our challenge for this past week was about healthy drinks, smoothies, and that didn't mean like a pitcher of margaritas at La Fonda. That's not what I'm talking about. And so that was my kale shake over here at Arden's Gardens. They've got a good spinach shake, and it's good. They put a lot of fruit in it, and you can get, like, I got a ginger shot in it too, and ginger always makes everything better. It's really very good. So our if you don't know what that is, this is called the Year of Living Your Best Life. We do a challenge every week, and what are we up to? Week 19, and so this week, the challenge is about creativity. I want you to create something. Whatever you do, if you're a baker, then bake a cake. If you're a poet, write a poem. If you're a songwriter, write a song. I want to challenge your creativity. If you're a builder, build something. Build a birdhouse or something. I want you to manifest something with your hands or with your voice or something, and use your own creativity to post a picture. Use the hashtag. So that's I'll be curious to see what you come up with this week. So that's what it is. Be creative. I want to say, first of all, happy Mother's Day. And I was telling Michelle, because I did her mom's homegoing service like 2 years ago now, I guess. Maybe 3, I don't know. And I'm always curious, I know there's a lot of people, this is their first Mother's Day. I know Sammy's first without his mom, and somebody else. I was thinking Sandra's son. It's Jackie's first. That's right. Myrtle went to be with the Lord within this last year. Doc Sheila's, 3 or 4 months ago. And so I'm very aware that people are all over the map, emotionally and psychologically. And I remember when I was growing up, I don't know when this tradition stopped, but my entire childhood, Mother's Day was always a big deal at the church, and Dad, every day before Mother's Day, he would go to a florist, and I always remember in the refrigerator on Sunday morning, there'd be, a red corsage for Mom. That means your mom was living, and he and I would wear red boutonnieres, and I don't know when that stopped, but we did that for years. Well, I'm not to that one yet. I'll tell you about that one in just a minute, but hang on. And we used to always do the, oldest mother, youngest mother, mother with most children. And the world's really changed now. Like the oldest mom now doesn't want to be the oldest anymore. It used to be when women were in their 70s, it was now, this is in the age of Jane Fonda being 78. And like people like, don't call me the oldest mama. You don't know me like that. And the youngest mama sometimes is like a teen pregnancy that, people are like, we're dealing with it, but we don't really want to celebrate it right now. And, the mother with the most children may have been married several times, got several baby daddies. So it's just a different, we just kind of don't really go there anymore. We're just like, let's just honor the mom. Moms rock. And even yesterday, we walked to brunch, and I was asking Ken, because I don't know how many Mother's Days it's been since his mom transitioned. And I asked, I said, does it get any better? And, is it always a weird day for you? And he said, always a little bit, it is. And so I'm very aware of that. But I also want to tell you that your mother, whether she's on this side or that side, is very much alive, very much part of the cloud of witnesses, very aware of who you are and what you're doing. And if you had unresolved issues with her, they will be resolved eventually. You will still get a chance to, talk to her again. And I don't believe there's anything wrong with talking to her now. I mean, I really do. A couple of months ago, we talked about tapping into eternal wisdom. I think, I don't necessarily think people become guardian angels, but they can kind of walk in that role, even though that's not what they officially are. And so that's a good. Now, what I wanted to say, and I don't know if my mom will come up and say a word, but if I'd like for her to. And in a minute, I'll have Ken just come get her. If you just say hey. But I want to show you that this is the profile picture that's on my Facebook page. And everything I'm about to say about my mom, I could say about my dad. This is true for both of them. But let me tell you what this was about. I'm not even sure mom realizes why I did this. And this is not too much information. This is a good thing. Let me just show you. This is the way a mom is for you. Let me show you. Now that one up there, I don't know, how old was I in that picture, Mom? Was that about 6 months old, maybe? And Mom, she was just 19 when she had me, so we kind of grew up together. And then that was, I'm thinking 66, 67. That was in Panama City, and that was at my grandmother's house with our little dog. And that was when somewhere, I'm thinking 77 maybe. Now here's the part. This is what I want to show you. This is your parents hanging in with you. That one in the middle was when we were at the big building. And I was looking at some pictures this week, even of our opening Sunday. And, there was like 2,500 people there. And it was a great day. And there's a picture of my parents sitting on the front row. And I can tell my mom looks so proud, and dad's on the stage speaking. And they were there with me when I was rolling. You know what I mean? Like, that's my boy. But then this picture was taken at Stonecrest Mall when we lost that building and we were at that theater. And you'll notice Mom's still proud of me, even without the big building. This picture is in the building in Covington. And I think Dad was preaching on Father's Day is what that was. And I was sitting with Mom, and I really liked that picture. And that was also in Covington. That was a Mother's Day. And this was at Metron last year. And I thought, that's really cool because, they've kind of hung in there with me through the highs and through the lows. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There we are. The devil is a lie. Devil, you're not going to have this service. But anyway, that just meant a lot to me that, whatever I'm doing, they're like, all right, that's what we're doing now. And they're always in the now. And I don't know that this would have been the same if I'd had siblings, but I was thinking about it this week. They've kind of centered their entire lives around everything that I remember my dad took a church at a different location because the doctor said that the environment where we were living was not good for my asthmatic bronchitis. So he moved churches. And then, and I was having some difficulties in my first marriage, and they felt like it'd be better if they moved out of town to give us some space. So they moved to Columbus. I mean, I'm not saying God didn't move them around, but I had a whole lot to do with it. And then when went to Covington, they built a house there, in the property in Covington. And then when I wasn't there anymore, they were like, well, I guess we can't live here anymore. They bought a house in Stone Mountain. And I thought, wow, I've just drug y'all all over the place, haven't you? Hopefully I've been worth it. But Do you feel like coming up and saying a word? Is that okay? Ken's going to come back and get you. Yeah, come on. Just say a little, you don't have to preach or nothing. But, yeah. Give her a minute. And nobody would have known if you hadn't said anything. Besides, purple's what we're doing today. Look at these people in the front row. Happy Mother's Day.
Well, I got up at 7:30 and started working on this. A few little problems here and there, but for the most part, it's good, isn't it? And that's wonderful coverage you made there, son.
Did you recognize all those places?
I didn't realize how it followed you like that. I'm going home. I'm grateful, and I turned on a little gospel music coming, and it got us both going to crying. And I said, Jim, don't cry anymore. I'm gonna cry my eyelashes off, and I won't be a man. So we had fun getting here, because on those little lanes, he prays in tongues all the way here.
She's talking about those little lanes on Ponce Leon.
Well, I did have, yeah, I know, Leon, and you do. I do have a thought that came to me, and I wanted to bounce it off on and see if it's as awesome as it was to me.
Okay.
You know how when you're laying in the bed and the thoughts start coming, and I was thinking about the metamorphosis of life, and just what he's just telling here, and the ups and the downs and all. And I was saying, Lord, how many more downs, how many more, just talking to him about it. And just like that, a butterfly came to me. And the thing is that I bet this is going to be original. I don't think I've ever heard this before. Wait,
Okay.
let's see if it's good. You better fall over in the floor. And I was thinking about how awesome the butterfly was. And it blessed me, and I'm thinking about it was a lowly worm, a ugly worm, a ooey gooey worm, And then it goes in the cocoon, doesn't it? And the cocoon's not pretty, and you wonder what's coming out of that cocoon. And I just kept thinking about, and I'd see pictures somebody put on Facebook, the different beautiful butterflies, and it was all on my mind. Y'all, some of you have seen it. And all of a sudden, it came to me. I said, Lord, that butterfly has to eat the lowly dust of the earth. It goes along and eats dirt. And then one day it starts descending. And this is where the bottom line, it just thrilled my soul. I woke up and he didn't know. I started walking the floor. And the Holy Spirit said to me, but they all fly. They all fly, except the ones where human touch is trying to get them out too early.
That's right.
And so when you try to get something going that's not time for, you're crippling them. But when I say that thought, Jim Earl, they all fly. I thought, we're all coming out. We're all flying with the angel wings.
I love it. Good. Absolutely. That's my mama. They all fly. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. Absolutely. Excellent. 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 You may be seated. Good. Well, I appreciate Mom and Dad being here. And I won't go into any detail about this, but they both had some health issues that they have just realized was possibly some toxic things that were in their home that they have removed now. So I'm just going to say, just be aware of what you use in your house, whatever. And it really was kind of a word from the Lord, because she said the other day, she prayed, she said, God, what is going on with us? Because these things shouldn't be happening to us. And she said, a word came, take this out of your house. And that's, sure enough, that's what it was. And so it's going to maybe take a few months, from what the websites say, because cells do regenerate. And so they're doing a lot to detoxify and all that kind of stuff. But if something keeps happening to you, James says, if you lack wisdom, ask. And sometimes that's all it is. It's like, what's going on? And a word will come to you. So just be in agreement with us for their complete recovery, because I'm not I'm not ready for them to go anywhere. Anytime they start talking about how, when you get to be our age, I'm like, Betty White is 93. Y'all got a long time yet. Anyway, so good. That was a good word. Yes, they all fly. We all will. We're speaking of this atmosphere, and we say, let there be light. This is fortuitous the way this worked out. My theme this month, of course, is a state of grace. I think last week there was such an anointing on that. I think I could have just put the title up. Seemed like the title, you kind of all got it. But specifically, state of grace, staking a claim on inner peace and emotional health and well-being. And I didn't realize this was going to synchronize this way, but I had planned on talking about the 91st Psalm today because there's something special of all, the scriptures have to be rightly divided, and there's some things I read there that I think that doesn't resonate with me. And I would tell the writer, if he were here, I would tell him, I don't believe that was inspired. I believe this was inspired that you said, but not that. And I'm not shy about doing that. I mean, I think that's when Paul said, study to show yourself approved. That's what he meant. He said, put this stuff under a microscope and examine it and see if it bears witness with you. I mean, even Jesus would say, I have many things to say to you, but you can't bear them now. Or if you can bear this, if you can receive this, John the Baptist is Elijah. So he wasn't even cramming his own word down the throats of people. He was saying, I'm presenting this to you. You judge it. Who do men say that I am? He was nearly couching everything in a question so that they would rightly divide his word. Who do you say that I am? There's some things that Moses said that I think if Moses were here today, he would say, look, I was assuming Moses even wrote it, because we're not even absolutely sure about that. But assuming he did, even Moses would say, I was walking in the light that I had at that time in history, and everything has to be judged. That being said, a lot of people don't realize that Moses wrote the 91st Psalm. David wrote most of the Psalms, but some of our Psalms were Mosaic. I don't remember exactly how many, but this particular one was it was a prayer for Israel before the Exodus. It was especially chapter 90 and chapter 91 is him sort of preparing them for going out in the wilderness. And there is something very special about the 91st Psalm. The King James is, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and fortress, my God, in whom will I trust. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noise and pestilence, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and thy buckler. I mean, I can quote the whole thing, but you get the point. And the 91st, usually the 23rd Psalm is the most famous one, but the 91st, it ranks up there. And I know the first book that I wrote, I was looking at it this week because Avery's wanting to put it on Kindle. And amazingly, people keep buying books. I mean, all my inventories in mom and dad's basement. And we went over there this week for Christina's birthday, and I had to go down and lug up some Year in the Now because they're buying them on Amazon.com. I even got a royalty check recently. I'm like, look at God. I don't know who's buying them, but somebody is about every week. I mean, it's not like they're just flying off the shelves, but a week doesn't pass that we don't sell 2 or 3. And, and I'm not really advertising them except for my Facebook page. So look at God. Speaking of Christina's birthday, this was cool. Speaking of Mother's Day, Mom met this woman a couple of years ago who somehow, she was a friend of my mother's first cousin, and she had somehow inherited a mink stole and a mink hat that my grandmother had. So she met Mom and gave it to her. The interesting thing about my grandmother Addie Mae, even though she was Church of God and couldn't wear makeup and jewelry, that didn't mean you had to be tacky. I mean, she always wore it. She always dressed really nice, and she wore a mink stole and had lizard pumps and always smelled like Chanel No. 5. And, just because you holy doesn't mean you got to be ugly. And so my mom, has had this stole and had, and I know fur is politically incorrect now, but for vintage clothes, if it's old fur, then it's like even the animal rights people are like, well, that's old. That was before everybody knew better. And so Christina is a collector of vintage clothes. And so for her birthday, Mom gave Christina the stole and the cap, and she looked beautiful in it. She was modeling it, and that was very sweet connection to see my daughter receive something that was my grandmother's. And I remember grandmother wearing that. My granddaddy back in the day, he had like a big church. People don't think of Pentecostal churches being like this, but the church bought him a Cadillac every year. And that was before, that was just unheard of for Pentecostal churches back in the day. Nat King Cole used to come and sing gospel music at their church. And they were way ahead of their time. Y'all don't even realize where I came from. Y'all better recognize. But anyway, so I was thinking about the 91st Psalm, and then I started studying, and I thought, oh my God, this is the perfect Mother's Day message. Because the word that Moses uses there is El Shaddai, which is actually more of a female term than a male term, which is unusual for Moses, because a lot of Moses' writing could be very patriarchal. And everybody got stoned under Moses' law, but especially women. It just seems like women got it definitely worse. And I'm going to show you this, but as I was reading some of the commentary about the 91st Psalm and how it got translated, it's interesting that male scribes specifically changed it from El Shaddai and interpreted it Almighty. What it should say is he who dwells under the shadow of El Shaddai. And let me tell you, I'm not going to read the whole chapter to you, but the chapter actually is a maternal chapter because it uses the imagery. It says, surely he shall protect you with his wings with his feather, cover you with his feathers, and under his wings shall you trust. That is an allusion to the way birds are with their babies. Father birds don't do that. Mother birds do. I remember years ago when I went to school in Lakeland, I was out walking one day, and there was this duck on the bank of the lake, and she looked like she was ill. She looked really swollen, and she looked. And I remember looking at her like, does this bird need help? Do I need to take it somewhere or something? And all of a sudden, she lifted up her wing, and you could not believe how many little ducklings were under there, and they start streaming out into the thing. And the 91st Psalm actually makes more sense if you use the female pronoun. Surely she shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler. And so when you go back and look at even some of the things I taught you a few months ago about Sophia and the 8th chapter of Proverbs, and I'm going to quote a very reputable rabbi here who has gone back and looked at, the Old Testament was as female as it was male. And when you use phrases like divine feminine, a lot of patriarchal Christians balk at that. They're like, oh, that's dangerous. That's goddess worship. And, God destroyed those nations that worship women. Well, I don't know that God told them to do that. I think some men who were threatened by female deities told them to go kill. Am I being too edgy there? Well, let me show you. This is not Psalm 91:1. In the Tree of Life version. It's very, very cool. I don't refer to it that much, but it's very cool. And it's very, especially the Old Testament, very connected with the Hebrew language. And what it says is, he who dwells in the shelter of Elyon will abide in the shadow of Shaddai. And then in the Message Bible, it says this, you who sit down in high God's presence, spend the night in Shaddai's shadow. Now, it's interesting that the interpreters changed it to he who dwells in the secret place shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And Almighty nearly sounds more like a masculine implication. But let me tell you something. Mothers are just as strong as fathers are, if not stronger. There's a way that a daddy will protect you, but there's a way a mama will protect you, even in nature, that especially when it's over the young. I'm not saying that fathers are parental, because I would do anything for my kids, and as far as I can tell, I would lay down my life. If it was me or them, I would say, yes, absolutely take me. I believe that's in me to do anything for them. However, you read those stories about the mom that lifts the car off the baby or does the, and you think, how does that happen? I remember one night when Christina lived in North Carolina. That's when she was married to Dyson and he was deployed. And one night she called me. Sophia was a baby and she was pregnant with Olivia. And she called me late at night and she said, Dad, I don't know what to do, but somebody is scratching at this back door and I'm freaking out because there was a newspaper story about a rapist that had been breaking into people's homes and stuff. I said, have you called the police? She said, yes, but somebody's out there right now. I don't know what to do. Well, that's your daughter who's 7 hours away. What do you do? And I said, Christina, I'm going to pray. But I said, look, you're a mom. You're a pregnant mom. I said, don't underestimate the power that you have. And I said, if God forbid it's somebody trying to get in, go find you a baseball bat and do what you got to do. I said, you're stronger than you realize. And she said, I don't know if I could do it. I said, let me tell you something. If somebody's going to threaten your babies, something will come out of you that will shock you. And she knew what I meant. She got strong. Come to find out it was a raccoon or something that was scratching. But what was interesting to me is, of course, I prayed, protection, angels, whatever. But I needed to say something laterally right then. Heaven. Don't get me wrong, but heaven couldn't help her right then. Do you know what I mean? I don't have time to believe God for a miracle. I got to do something. And I said, tap into your mom power, because if you think somebody's going to hurt that baby, even if he kills you, you'll kill him before he kills you. You know what I mean? It's like that. That's how strong that is. So I'm not trying to feminize the Bible. I'm trying to equalize it and make people realize that God is as male as he is female. And even in Genesis, and I think we'll refer to this in a minute, it says he created them in his image, male and female. So, he didn't create man and then, we say, well, he took the woman out of man's rib. Not if you read it in context. In the context is he created them both. And I believe, the genders will remain as is, as they should. No, I believe that there are certain wonderful things about being masculine and certain things about being feminine. I do also believe that if you're a truly integrated person, you will have masculine and feminine tendencies. And that's not about sexual orientation. That's about something much deeper than that. And which is why I remember having this conversation with Bishop Pearson. And he said, I can't preach this everywhere. But he said, if this really is the age of Aquarius that started around 2012, he said, if you look at Aquarius, he's a male doing a female's job, because it was the women in ancient times that took the urn and bore the water. And he said, that's very significant that a man is out of his male gender role. And he said, what I think it means is that we're realizing spirit is a much bigger thing, that when Paul said in Christ is neither male nor female, that's what he was tapping into. And I really believe that month that we talked about tapping into eternal wisdom, I think there was a real anointing on that. And I don't think it took anything away from the masculinity of God. But I know, and I'm sure Dr. Ralph probably knows people like this, that when they pray, Father, Mother, God. Father, Mother, God, we thank you that so-and-so. And it's not really part of the way I think. I'm used to praying our Father and that kind of stuff, but it doesn't offend me when I hear somebody say that, because I believe God is as motherly as he is fatherly. And I do also believe, having said everything I've said about my parents, I believe my dad, if you threaten me, I think my dad, and however he could at this point, would protect me, but I believe she would too. And I believe, I don't believe that a mom would be any less protective than, I remember, I don't remember, was it Rosalind? Was it you? I think it was you and somebody else. It was one night we had done some event at the Virginia Highland Church. And every time women used to leave there, I would always want to walk into the car, because not that it was a bad neighborhood. It's just that's the way I'm trained. If a lady's walking to the car by herself, I'm going to walk her to the car. And I'm pretty sure this was you. It's somebody, I can't remember who else it was, but they were cleaning up. It had to have been you, because you would have been there cleaning up. And at the end, I said, I'm going to walk out of the car. I think it was you said, Bishop, that's fine if you want to do that. But as bad as my feet are hurting, I wish somebody would come and try to start something with me. She said, with the pain I'm in right now, if somebody tried something with me, it'd be the last thing he ever did. And it kind of scared me a little bit. I was like, I think she means it. And I will tell you this about strong men. Strong men are not intimidated by strong women. You just remember I said that. If a man embraces feminine strength, it only is an homage to his masculinity and how secure he is and who he is. When a man is threatened by a strong woman, it means he has some questions about his own masculinity. I'm just telling you that. And that's beyond gay, straight, or whatever. That's just a truth. Strong men love strong women. I said it. Now let me show you this. This is what Wikipedia says about El Shaddai. El Shaddai is the Hebrew, whatever that is. It says just Shaddai is one of the names of the God of Israel. El Shaddai is covenantally translated as God Almighty, but while the translation of El as God or Lord in the Ugarit or Canaanite language is straightforward, the literal meaning of Shaddai is the subject of debate. The name appears 48 times in the Bible, 7 times as El Shaddai, 5 times in Genesis, once in Exodus, and once in Ezekiel. It has been conjectured that El Shaddai was therefore the God of Shaddai. An alternative view is that the name is connected to shadayim, which means pair of breasts in Hebrew, or from shad or breast or ayim, an ending signifying a dual noun. It may thus be connected to the notion of God's fertility and blessings to humanity. In several instances, it is connected with fruitfulness. May God Almighty or El Shaddai bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers. That's Genesis 28:3. Or I am God Almighty, or I am El Shaddai, be fruitful and increase in number. That's Genesis 35:11. Or by the Almighty, or better translated, by Shaddai, who will bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the breast and of the womb. That's Genesis 49:25. And then Harriet Lutsky, who is a Hebrew linguist, has presented evidence that Shaddai was an attribute of a Semitic goddess, linking the epithet with Hebrew sad or breast as the one of the breast, as the Asherah at Ugarit is the one of the womb. Now, this is interesting because you can see how Bible translators who felt patriarchal felt it incumbent upon them to sort of masculinize the Bible. And it makes you think, well, why were you threatened by that? Why was that a problem? I mean, even back in the Old Testament, one of the judges of Israel was Deborah. Certainly in the New Testament, the first person given the evangel was Mary Magdalene. Jesus didn't say, go find a man to preach the resurrection. He said, no, you go preach it. When you look, we don't know a lot about Prisca and Aquila or Priscilla and Aquila, but they seem to have been a husband and wife team that pastored a church together. And you see all through Bible history, there were women who were trying to do what they were called to do. And there was always some man somewhere saying, I do not allow women to speak in the church. That's why I finally got to where I didn't engage anymore, but I got attacked when I first came out by so many prophetesses. Anytime I'd get a message from prophetess so-and-so, I thought, oh Lord, here it comes. And every time they'd be yelling Romans 1 at me, I'd be like, really? Are we going to talk Paul? Because Paul says you're supposed to shut up. Paul says you're not even supposed to be talking to me. Paul said if you're going to quote Paul, you're not supposed to usurp authority over a man. That always shut him right up. You can't play the Moses or the Paul card. Because you play the Moses card, everybody's going to get stoned, including your son that doesn't have a job. and the Paul card, you don't want to go there either, because Paul was as influenced by Moses as he was by the bright light that shone from heaven. And you can clearly tell when he's speaking, when he's a puppet of Moses or when he's inspired by the light from heaven. This is interesting. This is oh, I posted this yesterday. Let me go and I want to interject this here. I can't pronounce this name, but this is really cool. And it sort of came up the time, those of you all that know Scott and Lindsay Pettit, I don't know how much you know about their story, and I won't go into detail, but it's a miracle that they had twins. It is a true bona fide miracle. And the fact that the procedure worked, the fact that the babies went full term, that they're both healthy, and they were big babies. They were like they weren't like preemies and so it was interesting. I don't know if they saw this post or not because they got their hands full clearly, but look, I just read this and I think this is beautiful. Talking about the whole El Shaddai concept, and for Mother's Day, it's coming up. Hang on. That was a nice touch. I didn't know you had pictures of the twins. That was cool. In a mother's womb were two babies. One asked the other, "Do you believe in life after delivery?" The other replied, "Why, of course. There has to be something after delivery. Maybe we are here to prepare ourselves for what will be later." "Nonsense," said the first. "There is no life after delivery. What kind of life would that be?" The second said, "I don't know, but there will be more light than here. Maybe we will walk with our legs and eat from our mouths. Maybe we will have other senses that we can't understand now." The first replied, "That is absurd. Walking is impossible and eating with our mouths, ridiculous. The umbilical cord supplies nutrition and everything we need. But the umbilical cord is so short. Life after delivery is to be logically excluded." The second insisted, "Well, I think there is something, and maybe it's different than it is here. Maybe we won't need this physical cord anymore." The first replied, "Nonsense. And moreover, if there is life, then why has no one ever come back from there? Delivery is the end of life, and in the after delivery, there is nothing but darkness and silence and oblivion. It takes us nowhere." "Well, I don't know," said the second, "but certainly we will meet Mother, and she will take care of us." The first replied, "Mother? You actually believe in Mother? That's laughable. If Mother exists, then where is she now?" The second said, "She is all around us. We are surrounded by her. We are of her. It is in her that we live. Without her, this world would not and could not exist." Said the first, "Well, I don't see her, so it is only logical that she doesn't exist." To which the second replied, "Sometimes when you're in silence and you focus and you really listen, you can perceive her presence and you can hear her loving voice calling down from above." I mean, that says so much on so many levels about, yeah, there is something coming when we leave this body, but we don't know what it is any more than a prenatal child couldn't possibly fathom what life outside is like. And the fact that we don't see God doesn't mean he's not all around us. It's because we're in him. That's why we don't see it. Man, that will just preach. Thank you for coming. Drive safely. All right, now let me wrap this up. I'm gonna take my mom to lunch. This is an interesting quote. It says, "And as this era of masculine dominance comes to an end and a feminine understanding of life's wholeness is included, we are beginning to experience a different world in which physical, mental, and spiritual well-being are interdependent. We see the signs of this in the New Age movement, but the New Age movement is often limited by its focus on individual well-being. Our real concern is the well-being of the planet and the whole of humanity. Central to this is the understanding that the physical world cannot be healed from a solely physical perspective, but requires a shift to an attitude that contains a multidimensional approach." Now, let me tell you what I believe. When it comes to the phenomena of people who are coming out and telling the truth about their sexuality, he might be watching today, and if he is, I hope he's not. There's no way you would know who I'm talking about, so I hope if he is watching, he's not offended at this. But we had a friend, my parents knew him, somebody I haven't talked to in 30 years, who, when we first met, was supposedly gay, who had gone through conversion, which we were a part of. We back in the day, we thought that was possible. I mean, I can't tell you the gay people I would pray for, like, in the name of Jesus, and I want to go, this doesn't work. But that's what, I never initiated it. That's what people requested. But let me tell you, and I've come back in contact with this person who's in a ministry who is about to be sent to a conversion therapy place for a few weeks. And he said, what do you think about that? I said, you don't want to know what I think about it. I said, you and I both know that's a big waste of time. And I know you're wanting to save your job and you're going through the motions because this ministry is expecting you of it. But with everything in me, I'm begging you, please don't do it, because it sends a signal to other people that might be a possibility. Let me tell you why I'm bringing that up. The world isn't turned. The people who think these are the last days think, oh, everybody's turning gay and transsexuals are trying to get in the bathroom to molest your child. It's like, it's so ridiculous. That about 10% of the population has been gay, always has been, always will be. The world's not turning gay. It's like, that's not happening. It's not like this. It's this phenomena that some preacher, and I'm not making this up, has a sermon online about why the Golden Girls in the 80s turned all the men gay. Like, boys that grew up watching the Golden Girls turn gay. I'm like, really? This guy, seriously, y'all pay tithes at this church? That's what this guy actually believes? I'm like, well, what about Tchaikovsky and Da Vinci and Michelangelo and all these men who were gay many millennia before the Golden Girls? But people who don't understand what's happening in the world think that's a danger sign. It's not a danger sign. It's the universe trying to correct itself and to realize that, yes, the majority, of course, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. The majority of the world are breeders. But there's about 10% of the population that isn't so much. And that's true in at least 1,500 species of animals. It's not exclusive to human beings. It's just a fact of life that's always been here. And we're getting to a place now where people can look at it and go, oh, that's a reality. It's not, nobody's going to turn you gay. It's not ever going to happen. Y'all aren't going to believe this, but was it my 11th or 12th reality show approached me this week. And I said, I'm going to have to tell you, I don't think I can have these conversations again. And she said, but we're interested in people that have a LGBT ministry. I said, I don't really have that. I don't have a gay ministry. I said, the majority of the people that come to Metron are straight married people, And she said, how is that possible? I said, because I'm just their pastor, and they're not like, we settled those issues a long time ago. We're not trying to work that out. And it's like, she said, oh man, that's the show. We got to make the show. Don't talk to me about reality shows right now. Of course, he was listening in on the conversation. He said, you and Judah said, never say never. I'm like, oh, I can't do this again. I just can't. We'll see. But my point is all this that's happening, even from transgender or whatever, it's not a phenomenon. It's not like people are going to start changing sexes all the time. It just means there are some people that feel like they're in the wrong body, and they're in a place now where they can actually talk about it. And eventually it will just be another thing that's not really a phenomena. It's just a thing. And there are some people that's their issue. And it's just like, until you know about it, you think it's something unusual. Like I remember we watched this Antenna TV, and they play all these shows from the 60s and 70s. And I was watching All in the Family the other night. There's a great Archie Bunker line. If you understand how the writers wrote that, he was talking about white people dealing with the issues of African Americans. He said, I don't know what the black people want. He said, until Eleanor Roosevelt came along, we never even knew they were there. And the issue is, if you live in a white world, you have no idea what black problems are, because you've just never seen them. So of course there had to be a Black Power movement and a Black Lives Matter, because somebody has to come along and say, you've got to look at this. This is a part of your world. My problem is your problem, because we live in a global universe, and you can't be unaware of it. And it's why there's a gay pride, and that's why there's all these different groups who have to say to everybody else, I have issues too, and I'm not asking for special treatment. I just want to be at the same table with everybody else. And so the people who don't understand that freak out, and they think, oh, we got to build walls to keep it. Walls aren't going to change that. Our world is way past building walls. Walls aren't going to work at this point. We're going to have to realize that there are people who are all over the map in everything, like, in sexuality, in relationships. So that's why even, if you're having marital difficulties, it's fine if you want to read a book or you go to a marriage seminar or whatever. If that helps you, fine. But let me tell you something. A healthy marriage is what's healthy for you. You know what I mean? What works for somebody else may not work for somebody else. Like I know a couple, came a minister of the church years ago, and their big claim to fame is they had never spent the night away from each other in 30 something years. Now, they never had children either. I'm like, well, that's interesting. All those nights, unless y'all got fertility issues, I'm thinking that's kind of surprising. Well, that's not realistic for everybody. For some people, like, really 35 years, never a night away from each other? Dear Lord, maybe. I mean, you know what I mean? Now, if that's what's normal for you, not my my dad's brother that is married to my mom's sister, they have a very unusual marriage. I've never seen them in a restaurant order two different entrees. Have you? Ernest and Wallace always order the same. They order the same thing and eat off each other's plate. Now, I'm going to tell you something. That would be, gay or straight, that would be a deal breaker. I'd be like, look, I love you. I'll buy dinner. Maybe I'll have a bite of yours, but maybe not. Because if I really like my food, I'm so into what I'm eating, I don't really care about you know what I mean? If I wanted that, I would have ordered that. I'm very focused. There's certain things, I don't think I'm just OCD about this, but there's certain restaurants that I order the same thing every time I go there, because that's what I like there. I like to go there to get that thing, and I don't want to go and order something else that I'm like, oh man, this isn't as good as the thing that I like. So if I know I really like that, that's when I want to go there and get that thing that I like. And the restaurants that I frequent kind of know that. I love this. When you go into a place and they say, you want the usual? I'm like, yes, you know me so well. But normal is what's normal for you. I mean, if eating off each other's plate is your thing, I'm not going to judge you. It's just not my thing. So to say, you need more closeness. Not everybody needs more closeness. It depends on the personality types. Some people do really well with spaces in their relationship. There's some people that the husband or the wife travels free, and it's great for them. It doesn't mean they don't love each other. It just means that that's the way their personality is. Sometimes they like some me time. Just because you like some me time doesn't mean you don't love your spouse. I didn't mean to get into a marriage seminar here. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is normal is what's normal for you. So to try to make some monolithic thing to say this is, I mean, there's some men that don't want their wives to work. Well, that doesn't work for women that are like, excuse me, I have a degree, I want to work. It's not even about the money. It's about, I'm not going to stay home all day and watch soap operas. I want a job. It just doesn't mean I don't believe you're a good provider. It means this is the way I'm wired. So you need to find the person that's going to want pretty much kind of the things that you want, and not everybody wants the same things. So with everything that's happening, even in theology or whatever, where people are realizing there are other things than just the total masculine view of spirituality, these are good things. They're not threatening the basic truths that have always been here. what's really happening as we walk more and more in the light, we're seeing what the reality of the earth has always been. Jesus said, you're the salt of the earth, you're the light of the world. Salt doesn't make the food taste like something else. It makes it taste more like what it already is. All right. This is part of a review of this couple writing about this Jewish rabbi who I'm also going to quote, but let me show you what they said. In both Hebrew and Greek, the original language of these texts, Chokmah and Sophia are feminine nouns. We already talked about that out of Proverbs. She is mother, God's consort and bride, the divine feminine through which God created the wild and wonderful world. Now, these aren't some kind of, out there new agey people. These are like Hebrew scholars who are saying, no, this is what the scriptures actually, this is how the scriptures are. The God of the Old Testament was as matriarchal as he, she is patriarchal. He who dwells in the secret place of Shaddai. You can nearly say he who dwells in the womb of God is technically what it's really saying. All right. And here's what the rabbi actually says. And he's written a book from the Law and the Prophets. He says, you are intimate with wisdom. She has known you from the beginning. You cannot hide from her. On the contrary, you can take refuge in her. This is what she offers you. And notice that she with a capital S. You do not have to earn her love or be other than you are. No pretense with her. She knows you and loves you for who you are herself. Now, I'm not saying a father's not capable of that, but doesn't that sound like a good mom? Really? Isn't? Ideally, some of you might not have had good relationships with mothers, but ideally, the idea of a mom is she knows it all and loves you anyway, right? I mean, you might not have had this, but probably when you were growing up, if there was a real problem, you probably went to the mom first, usually. Now, I know in my house, when I got to an age where if I had wrecked a car or whatever, if I ever called home and mom answered and I said, let me speak to dad, she always knew this is in his column. Do you know what I mean? This is something that, and he would always step up and he would be great with that as well. But I'm just saying and I will say this, if you don't have that with an actual mother, the idea of surrogates is all through the scriptures. God will bring, I'm telling you, even when Jesus said, there's nobody that's given up fathers and mothers and houses and lands who will not receive in this life the same and in the world to come eternal life. God's always going to, even if you had a great mom and dad, God will still bring you moms and dads and brothers and sisters. And we're always relating to each other on very different ways. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think some of you will understand what I mean by this, but Avery works for me, but there's times, Avery has 2 sons. There's sometimes she's not old enough to be my mother, but there are sometimes that there's a way that we talk to each other that's kind of like the way I would confide in a mom. And there's nothing against my mom. I'm just saying our relationships are complex. Do you know what I mean? And that's why Paul said, treat the older men in the church like fathers and the older women like mothers and the younger men like brothers and the younger women like sisters. What he's saying is even if you did not have an ideal nuclear family, and everybody's got some dysfunction in their family to some degree, but even if you didn't have that, if you never knew your father or you never knew your mother or they died when you were a child, there's still, open up your eyes. There's relationships all around you that will walk right in and fill those niches. And many times I believe that if the actual mom or dad can't do it, somehow they will send that person to you who will be that for you and say things to you that they can't say, especially when they're on the other side. I truly believe that. I believe that when your mama goes on, she'll send mamas to you to look out after you. I just believe that. And so what's happening in the world to me is a very positive thing. We're not doing away with the Bible. We're saying this world is a good world. God doesn't hate this world. God, this is his pride and joy. This is his, her creation. That's why, to me, even when you use the phrase Mother Earth, there's something as holy about it as using the word Father God. Just the idea that the earth gave birth to all of us, and that's uh, verified in Genesis. Even the imagery of Adam being formed from the dust of the earth. It's the Mother Earth birthing the man. Anyway, let's wrap this up. That was it. I did wrap it up. That was. Anyway, I just thought it was very synchronistic the way the 91st Psalm occurred on Mother's Day. And in your own time, just try it. Go home and read it and replace he with she and see if it doesn't make more sense to you. The 91st Psalm it's kind of the ultimate, we usually use Proverbs 31 about the virtuous woman, and that's a beautiful piece of literature. But the 91st Psalm to me really is the ultimate Mother's Day message, because it's showing you the warrior mother, the mother that's strong, the mother bear that will fight for her cubs. And that's all true in nature. If you upset something's mother in nature, it's going to sting you or bite you, or the mothers will go nuts over protecting their babies. And that's the imagery of the 91st Psalm is Shaddai, the one with breasts, protects you under her wings. She will cover you with her feathers. Surely she shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler, from the noise and pestilence. She shall cover you with her feathers. Under her wings shall you trust. Her truth shall be your shield and buckler. Even, I've probably said too much about it, but even when he sang the song Grandma's Hands, and it talks about the things that grandma would say, baby, don't run through the grass, there might be a piece of glass. Or I think any of us who have dealt with our kids making dubious choices in relationships, that lyric that says, baby, I know you think you love that man. I think, haven't we all had that conversation with a child before? But that's Sophia wisdom. Do you know what I mean? There's something that the mother says to you, and that even the grandmother says, who is enough removed from the rigors of childbearing, that there's really even more of a, this might not be true for every grandmother, but pretty much grandmas had that good wisdom. You know what I mean? That they would kind of butt heads with the mom about, this isn't the way you do it. And every mom has gone through that rite of passage of like, this is my baby, you don't come in my house. You might not have said it, but you thought it. That might be the way you did it in your day. But you have to raise your children the way that's right for you. And yet there's something that a grandmother says. I know I've said this to you, and I even said it the other day on the video with John and me, but I'm telling you, something changed in me when I felt like I had that visitation from my 4 grandparents. And of the 4 of them, my mom's mom was the one I was the closest to. I just was. She may have told the other grandkids they were her favorite. Maybe she was one of those kind, but the consensus among my cousins seems to be that no, you definitely were her favorite, because I stayed with them a lot when I was little, and the other ones didn't. So whatever about that. But I remember in this visitation talking to them, and my grandfathers asked me, well, what's happened in your ministry? And I told them. They basically had no reaction whatsoever. They just heard me out. And my grandmother Addie Mae looked at me and said, Jim Earl, people on that side think all that stuff matters, but it doesn't really. And I'm telling you, something left me when I heard those words. There was a shame that was in my chest, that she just pulled it right out of me. And I remember I wasn't fully asleep, but when I woke up, it didn't matter what hate mail I got or whatever. I was like, my grandma said I'm good. And that's not just limited to the feminine, because I remember even my Uncle Harry, who passed away 3 years ago this week, who was really in a lot of ways like my grandfather. My dad was very, very close to him, maybe in some ways closer than he was even to his own dad. And the last time I saw Uncle Harry, and I knew it was going to be the last time I saw him, I just knew it. He said in his voice that was still big, he said, "Son, I have something to say to you." And I thought, "Oh Lord, here it comes." And I know where this is going. And it wasn't at all what I expected. He said, "Remember those things God told you in the beginning of your ministry and hold on to those things." And I was like, "That's it?" There's no rebuke. There's no, whatever. And I could tell he was already transcendent enough. He was enough in between the two worlds that he realized the stuff that people obsess over on this side is so non-essential on the other side. And that's what we're tapping into. People get all upset about gender roles and masculinity and femininity. You need to tap into spirit. And I'm not attacking your gender at all. If you're a man, be a man. If you're a woman, be a woman. Like I remember hearing this one woman said, "Well, if we say it's okay to have gay people in church, how are we going to teach our boys to be men?" I'm like, "Well, your boys should still be men. I'm a man. Nobody said don't be men. I'm not a woman. I don't want to be a woman." I've never even thought about being a woman. I mean, seriously, I'm in touch with my feminine side, but I like being a guy. And like, of course you teach them to be a man. Listen, I know some gay men that would kill. You don't even want to know. There's some drag queens around here that you tussle with them, they'll take their earrings off and beat the hell out of you. They've already been through enough stuff. They don't take any stuff. I wouldn't say anything to them. I'd be like, "Hey, it's your business." You know what I mean? I don't think that looks working for you, but I ain't going to say nothing because that queen will hurt you. She will not be afraid. What makes you think I won't cut you? Because she will. It's in her purse. So, just because somebody's sexuality may not be your definition doesn't mean they're not male or female. It just means that maybe they're not wired exactly the way that you are, and you don't even have to fully understand it. This is where we're going in the world. I live in a very multicultural world, but there's some things about the Black experience I'm probably never going to understand. I'm going to be as close to it as I can, but it would be unrealistic for me to say, "Oh, I know what it feels like to be Black." I do not. So that's neither a good nor a bad thing. That's just a fact of life. Does that mean I don't have diversity in my life? Obviously, I do, because I realize, well, we all know as much about each other as we possibly can. And then there's some things we'll never know about each other. There's some things a man and a woman could be married 60 years and still not fully understand. There's no way a woman fully understands what it means to be a man. There's no way a man fully understands what it is to be a woman. And religion seems to me to be on this pointless journey to homogenize everybody and make everybody the same. And that's not the way the world is. What makes the world beautiful is that it's so different. Even yesterday, I'm trying to shut up, but yesterday I wanted to get my mom some flowers, and I didn't know if I wanted to get something for the porch or something inside. So we went to Home Depot and ended up not even getting anything there, but we walked around there, and the diversity of botany is amazing. I mean, there were things there yesterday that I don't even know what they were. There was some kind of cactus thing that looked like spiders, and there's some things that looked weird. Like there was one thing I nearly got because I did like the color of it. It was kind of a fuchsia color, but it was, the heads of it looked like Dr. Seuss characters to me. I thought, that looks too weird. But I was just fascinated by, and this is just at Home Depot. This isn't even like at some nursery. It's like, wow, it's amazing how much diversity there is in the world. And I don't have to understand what it is to appreciate it. I can look at it and go, wow, it really makes the world amazing. I don't know if we'll do it this year or not, but those of you that went to Gibbs Gardens, we need to go in the summertime because you still didn't really see it, what it really looks like. Because when it's in full bloom, I mean, it was beautiful the day we went, But when it's summertime and in full bloom, it's amazing. And that's a beautiful thing. So today we celebrate our mothers. We love our mothers. Thank God for our mothers. Understand that they weren't perfect. And they didn't claim to be perfect. Nothing will get you off your mom's back like having your own kids. Do you know what I mean? I had a little turbulence the last few days with a couple of my kids, and it's amazing. And we have and are working through it, but it's amazing how it makes you tolerant for your own parents. When you have something with your children, you're like, wow, you know what I mean? Even in your best efforts, it's still hard sometimes. And just when you think you have the best thing going in the world, something comes along, you're like, well, I didn't know that was there. Okay. And I have to see it as the universe trying to correct itself. And here was something beneath the surface that I didn't know was there. And good God, it was ugly when it manifested, but we'll be better for it once we deal with it. But I sat down, had a cup of coffee with my parents, and I'm like, you know what? We're good. Because ain't nothing like your kids having some issues with you to make you not have issues with your parents. Like, I feel you, dog. It ain't easy, is it? Just when you think you're doing a really good job, you find out they might not think so. And just wait, you're going to have some kids one day, and we'll sit down, we'll have this same talk. And on that note, let's all stand. I used to have, when I had room for it, I used to have all the mothers come forward and pray over them, but it's kind of not logistically possible right now. But I do want to speak a blessing over the moms, mothers, stepmothers, mothers-in-law, grandmothers, mother figures. We bless them. Scripture says her children rise up and call her blessed. Of course, I rise up and call my mother blessed, but I also want to rise up and call all the other women in my life who are important to me, who, you know, they matter to me. I need my female relationships. They're important to me. And so I bless all the mother figures in my life. And whatever your situation is, whether you're an expectant mother or the mother of a baby or a child or a teenager, or you're a grandmother or a great grandmother, that the mothering process never stops. It changes, it goes through a metamorphosis, but it never ceases. And so we all rise up and we all call you blessed. You are all virtuous women, and we respect and we honor you in this place. Amen. Please remain standing. Let me run this, and I'll speak a blessing over everybody. Did you get anything out of this today?
Contributing to Metron is quick and easy. Simply text the amount you would like to give to 404-620-5044. And now you can give anytime by texting this number. You will then receive a one-time registration form that links your phone number and opens your account at SimpleGive. Complete the form, and you will then receive a successful registration and donation page. For additional information on your account, visit bishopthenow.com and click the Support tab. Then, My Online Donation. When you contribute to Metron, you're also supporting the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment in Metron.
If you have a check, just make the JESM, and Danny will be back there to receive it. If you have cash, pay it forward and bless somebody. Friday night, Jonah met us. We went to get something to eat. We went to see a movie, and this young girl on the street. We encounter homeless people all the time. This young girl seemed really legit, and she was crying, and she grabbed us, and she needed help. And Ken and I just kind of emptied our pockets. We gave her a good bit of money, and she said, "Will y'all just pray for me?" And we prayed with her. So we did that, and we go sit down in Starbucks, and she's walking by like 2 minutes later smoking a cigarette like it never happened. And I said, "Dude, I think we were just taken, but you know, at least it's good karma. We meant well, and you know, if nothing else, she's a brilliant actress." And on behalf, she even made me cry. I said, "Well, I kind of felt like it was, you know, but what are you gonna do?" So at least if you give, it's out there and it's sowing and reaping and it comes back on every way if your intentions were good. So we'll leave it at that. But this is an unusual thing, but I want to make this demand for those of you whose mothers have gone to the other side. If these moms, wherever you are, can hear us, speak to your children sometime today. Do it somehow. It might be a confirmation, it might whatever, but I'm making a request for your mom on the other side to contact you in some way. And I believe it might not be all that dramatic, but it'll be something somewhere today where you'll get a little shout out from the universe that she heard me ask for that. Okay. And that you'll have peace in your heart today, because I'm sure it's always a challenge on days like today for those of you that have already lost yours. I'm glad I have mine and that she was here today to speak to us. You're going to have an excellent day. Get some rest. Enjoy the sunshine. Go have an excellent lunch. Get a great night's sleep tonight. You're well. You're healthy. You're blessed. You're successful. You're beautiful. You're attractive. Good things are coming to you. You're surrounded with light and favor. You're blessed when you come in and when you go out. And you wake up tomorrow saying, this is the day the Lord has enabled me to make. I will rejoice and be glad in it. God bless you. Go in peace.